In this section, we're going to put the last bone in place in our walking skeleton by retrieving some data from our MongoDB database and displaying it on our index page. As I said before, Mongoose works based on schemas. So the first thing we need to do in order to retrieve data from our MongoDB database is to create a schema with Mongoose. So I'm going to create a schema for a collection of messages. We'll retrieve one of those messages from the database and display that message on our index page. I'll start by creating a message schema variable that's going to hold my new schema. And I'll create the Mongoose schema. And to this function, I pass in an object which describes the schema of this collection. So it's going to have one field called message, and the type of that field is going to be string. Now that I've created that schema, the next thing I need to do is create a model based on that schema. So I'll create a model variable, and I call the mongoose.model function, and I'm going to pass in the string message, and then I'm going to pass in the schema variable. Next, I'm going to create a variable that's going to hold the data that we pull out of the database. And I'll use this model object that I created to find a single document using the find_one method. Since I've given it no parameters, it will simply return the very first document in the collection. And then when it returns that data, I'm going to have it execute a callback function by calling the exec function and passing in a callback, which has the signature of first the error and then the document that's been found. And I'm going to set that Mongo message variable equal to the message property of that document. And now I have the data available that I can use by passing it to one of my views. So I'm going to go down to where I call the index view, and I'm going to give it a data object that has that variable in it. Next, I need to go into my view and define where I'm going to display that variable. So I'll go into the index.jade file, and after the div that has my ng view, I'm going to create a new h2, and I'll set that equal to that Mongo message variable. Now, as of right now, that message collection doesn't exist inside of my database, and therefore no document is going to get returned by that query. So I'm going to go back to my console, and I'm going to launch the Mongo shell by typing in Mongo. I'm going to set the database to be the Multivision database, and then I'm going to tell it to create a document inside of the messages collection. Now, it doesn't matter that the messages collection doesn't exist yet, and it doesn't even matter that the Multivision database doesn't exist yet. MongoDB will create these objects for me when I insert the first document. So I'm going to create that document, and it's got one property called message, and I'm going to give it the string hello Mongo. And now if I show collections, we can see that our messages collection has been created, as well as the system.indexes collection was created automatically. And now that we have that data created and hooked up, we can go ahead and run our app in the browser, and we should see the message hello Mongo on our index page. Let's refresh our page, and indeed the message hello Mongo is now appearing on our page. Our walking skeleton has now been completed. We just have the bare bones of our application, but every major moving piece is in place. All four components of the mean stack are working together to serve up the page that you're seeing. In the upcoming modules, we'll flesh out our application with more features.